Happy Friday the 13th. I'm Beverly and this is Alex.
Hi.
And this is on Unsafe Space. I don't know what to call this. This is just a Friday the 13th special because it's, Friday the 13th.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought let's be as spooky as possible. To commemorate the holiday, I've watched the original Friday the 13th because I never had seen the original before, and then I watched, and you said that you just recently watched too, the 2009 remake of a reboot, I guess
it's rather a reboot,
yeah. Because from what I've read, it's the first 4 films put kind of mixed together somehow. So
yeah, because the beginning of it, the opening is all the first.
It recaps the
movie.
First. Yeah. So I was surprised. I was like, oh, okay. So we're just done with that part. Moving on. Good.
Yeah.
Which I thought was, when we talked about this before, and I hadn't seen it because you were like, oh, I guess we're going to have spoiler alerts on here too. You guys have had plenty of time to watch these films. But because you were like, Jason's not even in the first film. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I wonder why. Because I didn't know. I'm like, oh.
The first movie's not supernatural in the slightest.
Yeah. It's just a crazy
the thing
mom.
is that,
I mean, it's sad, actually. It's the mom who is distraught over her lost child. Like, okay, yeah.
And she's gone on a psychopathic rampage.
Or okay, it's kind of understandable. Obviously, she had problems. I mean, I don't know. Do you think, let's get into psychology for a minute. Do you think that someone could have been just like a relatively normal person, psychology-wise, and then snapped, like they have a psychotic break due to some sort of traumatic event that leads them to that? Or do you think that there's always some sort of inherent thing going on in the brain that this was just a trigger to lead to that?
I don't think most people are all as stable as the world likes to pretend they are, honestly. And based on the fact that Jason was deformed and she had no husband, and so Jason was her only family at this point, I would have to say that she had some weird over connection to Jason, honestly.
Okay, yeah, so there was some sort of mother-son because she probably would have been more overly protective. I like the idea of psychoanalyzing these characters. And hello, awesome one. You are talking to the dead Beverly and dead. I don't know. I guess undead.
Maybe undead.
Undead. Hi, Red Rascal. Hi, Brian Hepburn. Hi, Della Rose. What are you doing here? Hi, Judson. And I think he's asking Carter if he's coming over tonight. Carter's not even here, so you guys can hang out. So at the end of the first film though, it was a little bit supernatural in that, because didn't Jason or someone pop out in the water? So you're kind of like, oh, what happened there? So I guess
I think that was just their lame end of movie jump scare, because most horror films have that. And she was asleep essentially, so I would say that was just a nightmare essentially. And then then some asshat said, this movie did so well, let's make more, let's make it the thing at the end of the movie, and it will be Jason, who was 11 when he died, and now he's a giant man,
and now so and that's what I'm still unclear, again, having not watched any of the following films, except apparently I have seen Jason X during a bad movie night, but it was not memorable enough because I had to be reminded that I'd seen this movie before. And then the Freddy versus Jason, speaking of nightmares, I did just watch that one today, and that was amazing. I loved it.
I know, that movie is so enjoyable. It's so incredible. It's stupid, it's campy, and it's funny. It's entertainment. For a long time, it felt lately, it feels like a lot of movies are not actually entertaining their work. Whereas Freddy versus Jason,
it was just you
just enjoyed it.
Fun. Freddy was a fun character too. I don't know, it was just because Jason is not speaking, so Freddy kind of had the more fun parts of it. But Brian Hepburn says Jason jumped out of the water, Alice in the dream sequence, but it was also unclear, because it was was that just a dream, or did it happen and then she passed out and then wakes up later on in the hospital? So it was did it happen, did it not? They had left it ambiguous. Okay, wait, go ahead.
I was just to get us back on Freddy versus Jason. The thing is that obviously Freddy is a highly charismatic character. Like as like compared to Jason, Jason is silent. He never talks.
Yeah.
Odds along coming towards you to kill you.
So charismatic for the viewer.
Yes, charismatic for the viewer.
I will say in Dungeons and Dragons, you have charisma as a trait on there as a stat, and it can be used as either being really likable or intimidating or like stuff along that. So you can kind of be scary or so either way of how you want to use it. So I guess Freddy could potentially be considered charismatic in like the terrifying way to people. So
that's true. Well, and I love one of the things I love about the Freddy versus Jason movie is the fact that they constantly say the word bitch. They end sentences with the word bitch all the time. They're like throughout the whole movie. Like Freddy does it, other people do it. That's one of her last lines. Is she calls him a bitch? And the thing is, though, that's a reference to a line from one of the later movies of Freddy of Jason. Of Nightmare on Elm Street, where they show it in the sequence in the beginning. They show a bunch of clips from the previous movies,
right.
And one of them is the one where he's a TV and he pops out of the TV. And his line was, I can't remember what it was in the script, but what the actor said is, "It's prime time, bitch." And like since then, that has been essentially like a long-standing joke. Like they reference it in a Rick and Morty episode where the guy with the nightmare guy with the testicles on his face.
What season is that? I think I'm behind.
It's season 1.
Oh, okay. Then I've definitely seen it.
He constantly says "bitch" at the end of every sentence.
Oh wait, I do remember. Yeah.
So like, it's a huge joke that the bitch thing. So it's constant, and it's funny to people who know about it's welcome to prime time, bitch. That's why like I enjoy Freddy versus Jason versus like I don't actually like a lot of the Friday the 13th movies, especially not the one where it was in 3D, which I did see that one.
I've only seen the first Friday the 13th, so I don't even. Oh yeah. Oh no, sorry.
It's not worthwhile. They made a TV show too.
I'm mixing everything up. Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street.
I know. It's
because they did a crossover, so now I'm mixing it up. I've only seen the first Nightmare on Elm Street, I think. So they did a TV show
of Friday the 13th. There was a TV show.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I know. It was like it was sort of like a Dark Tales kind of TV show, I think. But like, there's this sequence at one point in one of the later Friday the 13th movies, because it was in 3D, where there were like someone's like looking down a pole and it's like pointed right at the camera, and like if you watch that on a regular TV years after it came out, you're like, oh god, this is awkward. Wow.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say that there are two things that I'm reminded of the TV show series thing. I guess I didn't realize that they did, because it's a slasher thing made into a TV series, and I think Scream did a good job of making. And they're really meta about it. If you've ever seen or heard of the TV series of Scream,
I've not watched it.
I liked it, though. At least I watched all 3 seasons, but the 3rd season they like rebooted it. With the first 2 seasons were with like a small town thing, and it was I liked that. And the 3rd season they moved it to like this inner city thing, and it was kind of being more woke and like here's diversity and stuff. And it wasn't bad, but it was just kind of like I liked the previous character. I was already attached for 2 seasons. But they even call out that like, oh, how do you do? Is that Missy?
Yeah.
Like how do you do a slasher idea in a TV series? So like they're really meta about talking about this happening. And then
because like, the first movie is very meta.
They're meta too, right?
Movies.
Yeah, they talk.
Yeah.
So then the one guy, he just talks about how like, oh, how do you have to like slow the pace down? You have to get the character. You have to like some of the characters, like get really invested, and then you kill them off slowly to be like 1 per episode, or maybe none at all. And so like, and I thought they did a good job of that. So I don't know which one came out first. If Friday the 13th had one early on.
Friday the 13th is way older than the new Scream TV show. Yeah, definitely. And it canceled long ago too. Yeah. I don't think it did very well, honestly.
So they didn't quite figure out how to how to do it in TV at the time, I guess. And then the second thing that reminded that Friday the 13th, sorry, Nightmare on Elm Street reminds me of. I don't know if you've ever seen, I think it was the third Scooby-Doo movie. No, fourth Scooby-Doo movie, maybe. Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase Monster.
Oh my God, no.
But now that I think about it, I think the bad guy, they go into like a computer world and go jump through different levels, and then I think the voice kind of the Cyber Chase guy and like sounds sort of like Freddy Krueger because he has the creepy voice, like that. And I think just when you were either doing it or just describing it, it reminded me, and I'm wondering if that was inspired by Nightmare on Elm Street now, because they're like, oh, you're not asleep, but you're in like a fake computer world kind of thing. So
I do want to talk about the reboot because I just watched it and I laughed so much, and I don't think it was supposed to be funny, but I find horror movies funny for the
Oh yeah, I've always laughed at all horror movies, no matter what. Can I say too, before we get into the detail of just as far as the actors go, I was really looking forward when I saw it at the beginning because they had, I think it was Ben Feldman was a guy, and I don't really know him super well. I think he's on Superstore or something. Like I've seen him like throughout different TV shows, but then there's a guy, what was his name? Sorry, Jonathan Sadowski. He played the main guy in the TV show Young and Hungry with Emily Osment that I like recently just watched like all 5 seasons of, and I'm like, oh cool, you're in this and you're playing like this nerdy guy, like I'm really excited. And then everyone died at the beginning. I was like, guess you're not gonna be in the rest of the movie. But they did have Jared Padalecki from Supernatural, so
they had 3 CW actors in the first in that movie. They had Jared Padalecki, who's from Supernatural. They had Danielle Panabaker, who's from The Flash.
Oh right. Yeah, I know her more from Disney channels. So.
Yeah, and then they had oh God, I can't remember that actor's name. He played Jay Garrick in The Flash, and he also played the Flash in the old Flash TV show.
What character did he play? And was he the boy?
He was the cop. That Clay was talking to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, come on, cat. But then
it's Friday the 13th. Good thing she's not a black cat.
Yeah, really. But then there was something else. Oh yeah, the girl from. It's kind of funny because that actor, the cop, he was in Dawson's Creek. He played Dawson's dad, and the woman from Freddy versus Jason, the star of that one, she was on Dawson's Creek. She played
really?
Abby.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was kind of funny. All these people from like Warner Brothers titles, like TV titles in these movies.
But in which one? The Freddy versus Jason. I think something was Canada related because I recognized the one guy, the Mark, who was like the friend in the psychiatric ward whose brother died, and like you knew. I remember him from I think it was a Disney Channel show, Caitlin's Way, and it was definitely Canadian American. And like, I remember you.
Only John Ritter being in that. I wish he was in more things, honestly. I don't think he's that good of an actor, but I like him, and I always have. He's the other guy that was in the insane asylum.
I didn't even. Yeah,
it was John Ritter. But oh my God, this is kind of funny. So Jared Padalecki's in. He's in the reboot. Friday the 13th, and he was also in House of Wax, which is also, I think, a reboot, actually.
Okay, I've heard of it. I've never seen that one though.
It's time. So first of all, when they hired when I saw Jared Padalecki was in Friday the 13th, the reboot, I was like, where did they find someone taller than Jared Padalecki?
Right. Yeah, what, he's like 6'4" or something, maybe.
He's so tall.
Yeah,
he's so tall.
But that's what in Supernatural, because what's the other actor's name who plays Dean?
Jensen Ackles.
Yeah, because he's not as tall, but like he is still tall.
He's
so like
6'1".
it still makes him look like, oh, you're kind of short compared to Jared, who's crazy tall, and then everyone is just like dwarfed by both of them.
And it was kind of funny too, because like at one point Jensen Ackles said that you're taller in person. I did that one a lot because they were always comparing him to Jared Padalecki.
Yeah.
But so like I was always saying, Jared Padalecki was in House of Wax, and the girl in that movie was like 5'2", and she was his girlfriend in that. They were girlfriend and boyfriend in House of Wax, and there's a couple of scenes where they have to be in the same shot. And it's hilarious because he's walking in a trench they dug.
Oh, and I've heard, I don't know, I mean, I've heard it in a different thing, I think, but, or maybe it was this movie, I don't know, but I have heard that they have to shorten.
He was walking in a trench, and they taped boxes to her feet. Well, get them in the shot together.
Have you ever seen the Final Girls movie? It came out a few years ago. It has Thomas Middleditch in it, and then some other people. He's the one that I knew. But it's a fun like horror comedy and meta too. And she's just really wants to be on air.
Yeah, she does. What's wrong?
She's scared. She's afraid of nightmares and Jason. But so they're the, I don't know the actors though. It's the main girl is from what's it called, the TV show American Horror Story. So she's like she's the daughter and whatever else, like throughout it. So that was her. And then the love interest is like super tall, like a foot taller than her. And you could tell at one point at the end when like everything's falling around, because they go into like the movie world, but as it's like melting around them, you're like, wow, you're a lot. You're closer in height now, like you can tell. And that they cut off the bottom where you can't see like the past like the ankles or anything though too, because like you can't show that she's clearly standing like on a crate or something to help level it out, and they're not moving, they're just standing in place because you can't know that like they, and like earlier in the movie she was like, you know, a foot shorter than this, so something's happening here.
Well, it's sort of like how they keep putting Robert Downey Jr. in high heels for all the like Avengers movies and stuff. So he's in the shot with all these tall guys.
Yeah, because he's only 5'8" I think, and then and everyone else is like 6'2". Yeah, I look up heights of people a lot because I'm always curious.
I know. I was watching The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and like a couple of years ago, and Henry Cavill and Armie Hammer stand next to each other. They were like facing each other, and it was like, and Armie Hammer was taller than Henry Cavill, and I was like, no way. And I look it up, and he's like 6'5". The guy is huge.
Wow. Okay.
And a cannibal, apparently.
Okay, so back to the Friday the 13th movies, the reboot. I did the plot wise, I thought it was fun. What was I going to say about that? Well, what was your opinion on it?
I mostly liked it. It was just stupid fun for the most part, although I laughed a lot, I'll be honest with you. And I was surprised at a couple of things, actually. They managed to shock me with a few of the deaths that they did. Although, here's the thing, is that like one of the characters, I have a video game background, obviously, and I hadn't seen this movie yet until this week. And one of the there's a Friday the 13th video game that came out a few years ago after the Friday the 13th reboot. And there's a character in it named Chad Kensington. And he is famous among gamers for being this absolute coward and just a total douchebag. And he's got this blonde kind of wavy hair. And the only difference between him and Trent in this movie is that he's wearing a sweater tied around his neck. But otherwise, they're pretty much the same character. Like, it really made me, like, I kept picturing Chad's face, because it's kind of famous. The face he makes when he's terrified is it looks ridiculous because it's not very good computer animation. But like, Chad Kensington. So the whole time I was like, well, he's clearly gonna die, and he's clearly gonna be a dick, and like, it just, I was like, because obviously the game is referencing this a little bit, so it kind of hit me hard on that. But like, I was, I honestly was surprised, but impressed when the boating accident thing happens.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When the girl in the water and the boat hits her and she doesn't die from the boat hitting her, because honestly, I was like, I expected it to kill her because that's what would happen in most horror movies, but it didn't kill her, which is actually more realistic. That it kind of
I was wondering, I don't know what's realistic or not, because it makes me terrified of like getting hit by a boat, because like, am I gonna die if that happens? And that happened in what was the sleepaway camp in that 80s horror movie, though, like the families in the water and then get hit by a boat. And
I don't know what you're referring to.
Oh, that one's the one, spoiler alert, where it's the girl, like it's actually surprising that like, so she's the final girl throughout it, but then in the end turns out she's the one who's killing everybody, and she's also the boy, because it was siblings, it was a boy and a girl who were in the water, but then the aunt who took him in wanted a girl because she already had a son, so she made the boy dress like a girl, and then so it was this whole thing of and that was the reveal at the end. It was like, oh, this is a boy, because they even show like the penis shot.
I think I've seen a movie like that with Jennifer Lawrence that has that kind of like like
House at the End of the Street. I know that she was in that horror movie.
Yeah, I think that's what you're reminding me of. I know it's not the same movie you're referring to, but it's very similar in the fact that the boy was
that. Oh yeah, he seems like the good, and like, oh, you're actually the bad guy, which also
was made to pretend to be a girl as
a
child.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I forgot. It's been so long since I've seen that movie. Yeah. Well, I guess relating to real life, we can. Not saying that everyone with those problems are going to end up being serial killers or anything, but I could see how it could be psychologically traumatic to some people, and what that might end up looking like in the years in the future.
Well, and here's the thing about reboots. Like, I feel like a lot of people are very, very like ready to hate them. I'm really not. Like, I'm like, a lot of reboots suck. I'll give you that. And the joy and the rawness of the original can be lost. That's also true. But like, so Stephen King thinks that the original the house on the left, the last house on the left movie is better than the reboot, and I hard disagree on that, because the original is so awkward and cringy.
Really? I don't think I've seen those ones.
It's not actually scary. It's not. I have no idea what the hell the point of this movie is. It's like someone said, "What if Reefer Madness?" But they all murder people, and like, that's not a good movie. I don't know. It was like that whole drug horror thing, like, oh, people who do drugs are all crazed psychopaths out to murder everybody. And then also the rape scene, the girl was making like pleasure noises. It was like really uncomfortable. It was like, ugh. Okay. Versus the remake, the reboot is a lot more like, they're not just crazed drug people. They're more realistic, actually. They're less cartoony in how they behave. And then the rape is more like horrifying. Honestly, horrifying. Yeah.
I'm glad that you say that, though, because I like reboots and certain things too, because I feel bad because, like, oh, people love the classics, but sometimes I also think that some people are like, well, you're kind of just saying that like because you're supposed to love classics, and so I'm like, I can appreciate them for what they were, but for any genre, but sometimes it's like, well, but this is slower paced or something like that's good for that decade. But now, like, this time period, we do like faster pace. You have jumps, like, so it's just like the style or expectations are different. So I kind of like, or even effects. So you have like better effects now, or sometimes you write in better stories, sometimes not. But like, sometimes so that's why I kind of like. That's I did enjoy the reboot of it, and even the original Friday the 13th, I was like, it was pretty slow paced, and it was just kind of like, I didn't care, as with a lot of older movies, horror movies, that like I really didn't care at all about the characters. And I feel like newer ones, you kind of have like something that like you get to know the characters a little bit, and
they do a better job of developing the characters before they kill them off. Honestly, they do. And like one reboot that a lot of people hate that I'm like, you have rose-colored glasses on the original is RoboCop.
Yeah. Oh.
The 2014
Really?
RoboCop is so good. Like it is so freaking good, and I like way better than the original. And I know that that's a you're gonna hate me kind of opinion, but when it comes to writing and performance, it's just a better movie. I'm sorry, it is. So like to me, I'm sort of like I do agree that I think there is this attitude that like, oh, how dare they remake it? I obviously I'm gonna hate the new one. I'm not ready to hate it just because it's a new version of it.
Right.
Like,
I can hate it for different reasons of it being terrible on its own.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if they've been rebooting video games lately, and a lot of them fucking suck. Like I agree with most of those opinions. They mostly because like there is also this thing where they go, we want this IP that has a built-in audience because it's worth that audience is worth something to us. We're going to reboot it and we're going to make it appeal to a wider audience.
Yeah.
And
then
it's like, well, then you just lost the reason why it was valuable in the first place. That built-in audience that already cared.
Right.
You just piss them off by generalizing the stories and the IP so much that it doesn't matter anymore. And it's like, they keep doing that, and especially these big franchises. Like I think horror mostly avoids that, honestly. And I think because horror fans are they're not as big. It's not like you're not gonna get mainstream appeal for horror.
You know that you have a specific demographic.
Yeah, unlike superhero shit. You can get the right general public on that, but there's a lot of people who just will not watch horror movies, and you're never gonna get them. And so then like a lot of studios won't even touch horror. Like, or if they touch horror, they're like, we're gonna make a studio specifically for horror, and we're not gonna mix it with anything else. So that's like how the Saw movies got made. The Saw movies got made because, well, first of all, the writer and director, two guys, were students, and they made a student film, and then it got picked up, I think, by Don Delruz. I can't remember exactly, but they literally went out of their way to make a studio so that they could make the Saw films.
Wow. I think I had heard that. Okay.
Yeah. And like one of them went on to start working on the Conjuring and Insidious.
Oh, right. Okay. I have seen those. There's so many movies. A lot of mainstream I mean, like, I'm not a big movie person generally. Like I do a lot more TV shows. So like RoboCop, I've never even seen any of them. But then I watch a lot of like B movies, especially horror movies, like B horror movies, or like Asian ones, or like some of them I've seen some, like I have seen like The Conjuring and those things, but like there are other classics that like everyone's seen. They're like, no, I've just never seen any of these ones. But what was the movie that you were just referencing? Saw. I remember in 7th grade, and we watched Saw at some sort of Halloween party or something. And I just remember, because I think we just make fun of everything there too. So that's always been my thing for horror movies. But I remember like a knife going into a cake, I think, in Saw, and it went shing. And I just remember wondering, like, why would it make that sound? Like, why was the cake metallic against the metal knife too? So it was just like the sound design.
Sound design is like so fucked up in Hollywood. Sometimes it's hilarious. Like there's this thing, a lot of people who know firearms are like, what the hell? Because like people pick up a firearm and it makes like all these noises, like it jiggles and stuff, like, and it's like, dude, if your firearm's making those noises, you need to like take it apart and put it back together, because there's something wrong with it. Yeah, but don't fire that, please. And it's like, and then like the other one, they did it in Spider-Man 2 when Harry picks up the knife, it makes a shing sound.
They always do, yeah. So anytime with knives, and especially in horror, like you add in like the extra sound. I do know too, in like old because I went to school for film, so like we had to do, I think it was Gunsmoke, where we had to like redo audio, but so we had to like, oh, you're adding in punch effects, you're adding in, and it's like people don't, when you punch someone, they don't make the same sounds as what you hear on TV. Like you need to have some sort of sound though, so like you do like add in the, so I get that, but there are just certain things, and I'm like, but it, at least it kind of like it amplifies what you imagine a sound would being. For me, I was just like, I don't want to eat that cake in Saw. Like, why is it making that sound?
It has a saw in it to break someone out of prison.
Right. So I want to address chat here just to see, because there are some things. Rib Rascal can confirm that Danny DeVito is very short. Apparently he waited on him in New York City. So I believe that. I've always loved Danny DeVito since Matilda. So let me see what else here. Oh, and Rib Rascal also said that there was a real life horror in his coastal hometown. Woman's legs got amputated by a boat trying to rescue her. Holy crap. When, and isn't that so awkward of like, hey, we're here to save. Oh god damn. Sorry. That's, gosh, I get Jello legs. I've got Jello legs now.
Jesus.
Okay, let me see what else here. What was one of the worst things? Oh, I think he's Rib Rascal's talking about Stephen King's version of The Shining is flaming shit. He says, was that which one? There's like multiple The Shinings, right? I don't remember which ones I've seen.
There's the Kubrick one, which is good, but it's not really. Which I love The Shining, the novel. It's not really an adaptation of the novel. It's honestly because Kubrick was an artiste. He liked adapting novels, but he liked doing his own thing with them. So, for example, the Wendy theory behind The Shining is the only thing that makes sense, which is that none of it is happening. That Wendy is schizophrenic.
Okay.
That Danny is becoming schizophrenic because he's picked it up from his mother, and that all of the weird stuff that's going on is mental illness.
Is schizophrenia, is that something that's you pick up? I mean, like, is that kind of something that can be like?
It's thought to be genetic at this point. Probably.
Yeah. Oh, but they were saying that because I mean, like personality disorders. I think that I believe that they can be a little bit of both. Where like if you're treated a certain way, like you're going to pick up those traits too. But I also think that like genetically, that your brain maybe is in a disposition of like having at least like allowing it.
I think it's dual, like what you're saying, that like you have to have the genes for it, and then you have to have triggers for a personality disorder in your actual environment. Because the thing is, though, is that some people experience the triggers of what we would consider a personality disorder, but don't develop a personality disorder. Right. And then some people, so to me, I feel like, it's dual. And I'm not like, I know a lot of people are like really negative about personality disorders, and these people are lost and you can't deal with them at all. And I just don't agree with that. I think there may not be treatment for it now, but there will, be in the future. It's like if you act like it's untreatable, then you're never gonna develop a cure for it.
For anything, like, this is broken forever.
There's no cure for cancer right now, so it's uncurable. So let's not try to cure it. Like, that's essentially how they act about personality disorders and mental health conditions. And I'm like, no, I think there's treatments. We just don't have them yet. We haven't developed them yet.
And we still have such a limited knowledge on everything. So, I mean, psychology is known as the soft science, and I think we're always still learning about it all.
Well, they keep shooting themselves in the foot, psychology does, by acting as though the brain is not part of the process.
That's how I feel about, so I mean, like getting into more, even I don't know how controversial I'll be with saying these things, but like I'm not saying in a judging way, but I do think when it comes to like trans or even probably like homosexuality, that there is something like humans biologically are set to like you have your brain and you have your body, and we procreate through male and female. So like that's just what like is meant to happen. So I'd say that something is going on in the brain where like the synapses are misfiring to some extent, that change. And however, if that's like born that way or like somehow it was developed over your lifetime of however long that changed. Like, I don't know, but I think it's weird that like that's just not addressed, that there is a set thing of how like humans are procreate, and they're just ignoring biology. Like, obviously they're always ignoring biology, and this is something even before I knew wokeness. Like, I was saying this like years ago though too, and I'm like, I'm not saying whether it's good or bad. I don't think like there's a moral thing. I think it's just like but I think there's some sort of scientific reason in the brain.
Yeah, purposely ignoring the idea that the brain has some sort of impact on who we are is really strange to me, because it's sort of blank slateism, and it's sort of beyond it's sort of almost a belief in the soul. And it's like, and if you're atheist and you think that way, I think that's really strange. Like,
yeah,
because it's like you're applying still some sort of spiritualism to what makes us human. And I find that really weird if you claim to be an atheist. But they act like that the brain is just the means by which we control our body. And it's like, well, clearly not. And you'll find neurologists act this way. That's the thing that's really weird about this, is that they say that neurological symptoms are things like twitches and like one of your eyes being off, or like half your body not working. Those are neurological symptoms. Anything to do with your behavior has nothing to do with your brain. Those aren't neurological symptoms. And it's like, what? Like,
when the brain is everything that you are and do with your body, I just don't understand how you can like separate those things ever. And I liked until you're saying this now, but like neuroscience, I liked it more with compared to psychology in a way. I don't know as much about it, but just because it's like, oh, you're understanding like the physical aspects of the brain and like what actually makes it tick versus like the mind in the brain. Again, still everything in the brain. Like,
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, that's the thing, is that I like psychologists who do look at the brain and look at evolutionary behavior, because those two are more based in reality, like, honestly, than these, like kind of woo-woo, your family upbringings kind of stuff. Because it's like, family is yeah, it's part of it. Your upbringing is part of it, but it's not all of it. And acting as though it's all of it is ridiculous. It's absolutely ignorant, and it's not helping anyone. That's the thing, is that they're not helping their patients by pretending as though the brain and evolution has nothing to do with our behavior today. It's like, clearly they do.
Right. Yeah. And so I think you're just getting like farther away from being able to help treat people with issues. And to bring it back, that's how you end up getting, supernatural serial killers.
Well, yeah, because like sociopathy is genetic to some extent. Which is the thing they think people, that violent sociopathy is behind murders and stuff. And because here's the thing, is that sociopathy isn't inherently violent. There are plenty of
sociopaths that they can have their functioning.
Yeah, they don't necessarily kill people, all of them. So like sociopathy is, and it's like, well, what causes it? What's going on in the brain? What genes are being passed down? Like, these people still have babies.
So for sociopathy, which they lump together with psychopathy, and now it's antisocial personality disorder, according to the DSM-5. I've also read that, going back to the brain, it's because they lack gray matter. They're missing gray matter in it. So then, I think, I don't know if it's frontal lobe or whatever it is, but like, you're not feeling all the same emotions and understandings, and like, you can't relate to people and say like, oh, when I do this thing that hurts you, like it upsets you, and then I should feel bad about doing this thing. And they don't have that. But there are people who can function because from what I've read, they've done like, they do like positive reinforcement, where it's just like, you can live this life, and like, here are good things that you do, and like good stuff happen. Like, you get to be a functioning human. And so they just kind of like, they don't like fully understand it. They just know like, this is what I'm supposed to do, and I can be okay here. But they can't like really, I don't know how to describe it.
I get rewarded for being to doing the things that they want me to do and not doing the things they don't want me to do, essentially, is what it is. Which speaks to something like, if a sociopath is rewarded for doing horrible things, or is not rewarded for doing good things, what kind of person does that create? And are we gonna, is that how we get someone like Jason's mother?
Yeah. And I don't know if any of the films like went back into her history though too. Like did they
did.
So that's why I just don't know. I'm like, oh, was she actually like a decent mother and stuff to him before that, or was she again overprotective because you had this deformed son, but maybe not protective enough because you weren't like watching him all the time, clearly, and because he ended up drowning.
Yeah.
But okay, so to get to Jason specifically though, I don't understand how he is supernatural. Has that ever been described in anything of like how he keeps, because even in Freddy versus Jason, they like Freddy is in the night and then he brings him back to life by like pretending to be his mom and saying like, oh, you need to keep killing for me, and that's so so somehow like that incentivizes him to like, yes, I need to, so he just comes back out from the ground and wakes up. So I know that he's always been able to recover from like lethal injuries, but how, and was he, so if he's an adult by the following films from the first one, was he living underwater this entire time? Because I would picture him being a lot more like water-based, like some sort of fish creature that I've seen in like, X-Files or X-Files type shows where you're like,
I know. That always confused the hell out of me in the Freddy the 13th movies, is that he died when he was 11 and he's a giant man.
That's I have to believe that like he continued, like he didn't actually die, that he drowned or like pretend or seemed to have drowned, and but he survived underwater. So I'm actually kind of upset. I also don't that first movie took place on Friday the 13th. Does he come back on Friday the 13th each time, or is it? I don't even remember the date being mentioned in the reboot at all. That it was like, this is the day.
I did mention it in the reboot, honestly, and it's been too long since I've seen the original. To remember why it was called Friday the 13th either.
Yeah, I don't even know if they had like, was it just the calendar and it happened to see, oh hi, Amoral Pancake. Thank you for the super sticker. Oh, it's a little kitty. I can't put it on screen because StreamYard never takes the images stickers of it. Yeah. Supernatural. Jason started with part 6 on. Wait, so the second through. Well, how doesn't he die in movies? Again, I've only seen the first one, Jason X, Freddy versus Jason, and then the reboot. So I'm missing a lot in between. How does he not actually die then in parts 2 through 5? These are the questions that need answered, Brian Hepburn. And I think you just need to know.
The second.
But he clearly.
I'm so confused. But he said I never caught that into the Friday the 13th series. Like, honestly, like it was never like my thing. But like I liked the first one. I did. And I always find it kind of funny that Kevin Bacon is in it. Like it's one of his early movies.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. I had to remember because he was so young. I'm like, which one was he? Like, oh yeah.
Yeah, the first one.
Again, that was like slow paced. Like I have trouble really focusing on movies because it's just kind of like, okay, I'm waiting for the next kill, because like it's just sort of, there's not really plot. And I was thinking like, oh, now they're just in a room. She was changing a light bulb, and I just remember thinking like, why is this scene happening? Like,
I know they hadn't trimmed the fat yet.
It didn't develop like really character, and that was the thing too. If you're going to use this, then at least like insert more character development. That makes me want to know the characters more or care about them. And it just didn't. It was just like, oh, they're here, they exist, and then you're going to watch them die soon.
Yeah, like honestly, that's why I think I was always more into the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, is because like that first one is really good. They really go out, that main character, they really dig into her. Yeah, it's very graphic. Johnny Depp is in the first one.
I know.
He's eaten by a bed.
Yeah. Good times.
Yep.
And then
Well, at least there wasn't shit in that bed.
I know that's what I was gonna say too, and like he's just so used to like problems in beds now. With
yeah, really.
You keep talking. I'm gonna open a window because it is very hot in here. So you keep chatting. I'm listening.
Okay. Well, I'll engage with chat a little bit then. He's not a murderer in the original. The mother believes he drowned, but then retconned that he was alive in the woods until part 2. That's what it is? Okay. Dies in part 4, brought back as a supernatural being in part 6. Okay, what happens in part 5? You skipped a part. I'm very confused here. But thank you, Brian. I feel like that was actually kind of helpful information. Oh, the Willard remake. I liked the Willard remake. I thought it was really fun. And of course, the trailers for it all use that Rat in a Cage song. Despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage.
So I'm a visual learner. Sometimes I need to read. He's not the murderer in the original. The mother believes he drowned, but then retcon that he was alive.
Yeah.
So, but then retcon that he was. So they were saying that, so they just talk as if he was drowned, and then.
Well, but how did she believed he was drowned, and that's why she killed everybody, but he wasn't drowned?
But why did he just live in the woods instead of return?
And go back to his mother.
Yeah, where like you'd be raised and stuff. So, so I don't understand that reasoning. He dies in part 4 and brought back. Okay, well then what was in part 5? Who was the murderer in part 5? He's not in part 5 except for Tommy's visions. Cool. I like that. I really enjoy that everyone that he's known as like this is the bad guy for these series of films, but like isn't in the first one, and then like not always there throughout. Like, well, so is this not your franchise? Willard, which one is Willard? That's the
Willard's the one where the guy controls rats.
Oh, okay. I think I've seen part of it. I don't think I've seen the whole thing.
When you're talking about psychology, this is a really good one. Honestly, it's sort of like a like honestly to me more horrifying version of Psycho. Honestly. Okay. I know Psycho is huge, and I agree that it had some major, like, amazing things going on in it. The original Psycho, not the Vince Vaughn Psycho.
I haven't seen the Vince Vaughn one, but I do like Vince Vaughn.
Not that good.
Okay.
But yeah, the original, like, it has some really great things about it. Like the idea that you follow this character, she dies in the first act. Like, that's unusual. That never happens. But that's Hitchcock being amazing.
Yeah.
The thing is that it's not a very scary movie.
Oh, see, this is what I was talking about, and without you saying Hitchcock specifically, but he was in my mind as far as like I can appreciate the films and like in the time period, and I know that he was very particular as a director that he would like these lines had to be delivered this way, like, and I relate to that because I always like when I've directed certain short films and stuff too, especially in college where there were comedy films, but I was like, it needs to be delivered a certain way though, because that's what makes it funny. And then like, so I would want to say the line and I want them to like hear like, oh, like emulate what I'm doing. And people wouldn't always be able to do like, I don't understand why it's so hard. Like just make the same sounds and inflection that I'm making though too. I'm like, why?
Kubrick was like that too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So
very, very intense.
I relate to that part, but so I appreciate that. But and I think it's also kind of tough because it's like, oh, it's in black and white where we've seen other more modern movies. So like I already have expectations. So it's hard for me to be like, oh, I find this scary because it's just not as like realistic for what I'm used to. But then again, I'd get heat for like, you have to love it and like, and you have to be afraid. And like, no, like I appreciate it. I think it's great in its own right.
I don't think his horror is as good as his thriller. Like, honestly, his thrillers are so much better than his horror movies, and Psycho is just like, and he couldn't quite grasp how horror was supposed to work. Honestly, I don't think he kept verging into thriller instead. So you got these pseudo thriller horror movies in The Birds and Psycho. They're not they're like somewhere else in the lexicon.
Can you define what your difference is between thriller and horror then, so that we can just have like a...
Yeah, so thriller does not require a lot of death, honestly. Like it requires maybe some intensely high stakes, and you usually have some element of mystery to it. Only there's a race against time. Someone's going to die if you don't solve the mystery. So that's more thriller based, and sometimes you're up against insurmountable odds, like a giant scary organization, or there's some paranoia involved in it, which is why like kind of like The Birds and Psycho, they have these moments where the tone and the cinematography is way more thriller like than it is, because like both of these genres, all genres have their own cinematography kind of like moves that they make, which is why sometimes you can tell when a betrayal is about to happen because the cinematography does it, or like you could tell when a scare is about to happen in a horror movie because the cinematography is doing a certain something.
Sound design is really important, and like if it's done well, then
yes, exactly. So like you're getting prepared for it, and they start doing it with car crashes too. There's some cinematography where you're like, okay, this is about to be a car crash. Like it's usually the passenger shot straight at the driver. Like, so like the cameraman is sitting in the car, the passenger shot staring at the driver. There's about to be a car accident. Like you can, if you watch enough movies and TV shows, you can start to spot the cinematography moves as they happen. And horror has, for its like plot essentially, is that it's not just insurmountable, it's fucking impossible. Like almost everyone is going to die, and you have to have people die in the first 10 minutes. You have to have people die within each act, and in that final act, it's like almost always 1v1 on there. And almost always. I'm not saying always. And then at the very end, there's always a jump scare, the lame jump scare at the end. It's got to be there. So like to me, like horror is often actually supernatural, more likely to be supernatural than thriller ever is. Thriller is almost always just regular people usually. But yeah, I would definitely say that like Psycho verges more into thriller, but it's attempting to be horror. And same thing with The Birds. The Birds is weird because it's almost like a zombie movie, because it's one of those things where
the horror.
No one knows how it happened, and they're everywhere. It's a swarm.
I'm not the biggest fan of The Birds. I
don't think it's.
Don't tell people.
I don't think it's that good, honestly. I don't like if you want to pick movies for Hitchcock films that are actually good, Vertigo is good. North by Northwest is good. If you want to talk about the best Hitchcock movie never made by Hitchcock, that would be Charade.
Oh, okay. I don't know. It's either been very long since I've seen, and if I've only seen something once, then I like remember not. Again, with like Jason X, then I remember. Sometimes I don't remember at all. I watched Insidious, and I watched the beginning of it 5 other times, like the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes before I keep remembering. Oh, I've seen this movie before. And I did it multiple. I'm like, oh, this looks interesting, and then and it takes me a while. Like, oh,
I kind of did that with Top Gun. No, Officer and a Gentleman. I apparently watched it when I was very young, and then I watched it recently, and I was like, wait a minute, is someone going to commit suicide in a shower? I knew it was coming, and I was like, I've seen this movie apparently.
I don't know. I think it's awesome when you talk about cinematography and like in the this what they're gonna do based on that. I have a film degree, but cinematography and all that was not. I wasn't into that aspect at all. So when we did group projects, I'd always like, hey, we have friends, we do, or we have your own project, but you have to do it in groups because it takes a lot of people. And so I'd have like, you're my cinematographer, you're doing my lighting, you're doing my sound. Like I liked writing, and and directing and stuff, like, so those aspects were fun, sound design, so, and but post-production. But so I never pay attention much to like the cinematography and how it works, but I can just tell with like writing wise, we're like, oh, this is the direction that they're going to go with. So I can call a lot of stuff that in movies and shows of what's going to happen. But then there are some times too where I'm like, it was very obvious and I just did not see it coming. I'll do a spoiler alert to Detective Pikachu, the movie.
Oh yeah, they did it. I liked that movie. That movie was,
I loved it. It was so fun
and very good, very well written.
Honestly. But I did not expect that. And even though they talked about like, oh, the Pokemon and humans, like they referenced that they merged, and I'm like, oh yeah, Pikachu was the dad the whole time. And I'm like, yeah, why didn't I feel like that was really obvious looking back on it, and I just like didn't see it. I think, you know, whether or not it was like a diversity thing that they were saying that the main character is going to be at least half black guy, it did make me think like, oh yeah, Ryan Reynolds' voice isn't going to be the dad, and I just didn't picture like, oh, he's just the voice actor, he's not actually going to be on screen at all. And so I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good. I thought it was very good, very funny, very enjoyable. Definitely worth the watch. And I think it's funny that like that movie and Sonic the Hedgehog both turned out to be like incredibly enjoyable movies.
I've heard good things about Sonic. I haven't seen him yet.
Best horror short fiction writer. I like Paul Tremblay. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his last name. But he has 2 short story collections. I like them.
I don't know what, hang on, I have to look this up. It's sci-fi, but I just really like, I think it's Ray Bradbury. He had, what was it called? The Velt or something, whatever it was. I just remember that short story that I thought was real, like I really enjoyed that. And I thought it was like kind of like sci-fi horror, and the Velt. It is the Velt. But it's something about like this being in a room, and then where it was, I think they've done it on like Black Mirror, where you like, the whole room is a screen. But like that, but it was realistic. So in the short story, it was realistic. So I've liked a few of his, but like actual horror, I have to think about that one. And also, Boston Josh, hello. He thought we were starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. No, we were starting at 6 p.m. You need to keep up.
Did we write the wrong time? We may have.
I don't know, maybe. That could have totally been my fault. I have no idea. Because I'm used to things being at 7 p.m. Eastern instead of we were doing 6 p.m. Alex has a stream later tonight, so on her channel.
I do.
So
it's a horror movie. It's horror
because it's Friday. Yeah,
Fridays. So I'm still in Prey, and I'm almost done with it. I'm pretty sure. Although, if you watch my old Alien Isolation, which was the first Fright Friday series, I kept saying that. I kept saying it. I think I'm almost done. I think I'm to the end of the game. I think I'm almost done. I think I'm to the end of the game. Like over and over and over again, to the point where I was like, this is the game that never ends. And I was like mad by the end. I was like, this isn't fun anymore. I'm not enjoying this. And I was like, I don't want to play this game anymore. And I think I rage quit the second to last stream. And because it was like Groundhog Day, because I kept dying from the same different deaths, and that's over and over again. Yeah. And I said, you do one more time, Alien Isolation, one more time. And then I came back a week later and fucking finished the game. And they're like, oh my god, do you want to do any of the other things for Alien? No, fuck Alien Isolation. I'm never playing this game again. It took me months.
There a lot of the horror games, they're like alien related, and I really want more. That's why I really wanted that PT one that had the demo, but they never came out, because I really like the idea of more, not just, I like zombie games, I'm terrified of them, but I like them. And then I really want the supernatural, like the ghost kind of paranormal games, and I'm not as familiar, or I haven't seen as many of those that I think I'd really like to play, though, because I'd like how creepy those things are.
PT was kind of amazing. For one thing, it spawned an entire new genre of video game.
Did it?
Horror video games too, and it's a subset. wherein it's a walking simulator. You don't fight anything. You don't.
Oh yeah, because it's more it's like, yeah, it's creepy.
Like it's creepy, and it's jump scares. It's psychological. It's trying to explore something about your brain, the brain of the main character. So like Layers of Fear is offshoot. Like these kind of games all exist now. I don't think all of them are good. Like
right, but I like the attempt.
Yeah, the fact that PT made an entire genre of video games is pretty amazing.
I'm gonna need a list because I didn't know that there. I mean, I don't play many games, so people need to tell me what games they should be playing. I like psychological horror stuff like that though, because the other game, I think I probably brought this up before, off air, was Doki Doki Literature Club, which is based. It's not actually Japanese, so it's an American-made game that's in the style of Japanese visual novels, and it's a dating
like
simulation.
A dating sim. Yeah.
Yeah. But then it starts out like the first, it was slow though, because I had to play, like it plays it very realistically of dating sims, and it took me a while to get through because I kept getting bored. But once the horror part gets in, it takes off, and I won't spoil that, but it was very, very exciting, and like kind of like legitimately creepy in how they and again, I can't reveal stuff though without just spoiling it all. So yeah,
I've not played it, but I know all about it, and it is definitely something. It's a cultural touchstone in video games, honestly, at this point. So it's definitely one to play if you haven't.
Yeah,
especially if no one's spoiled it for you. I already knew, like, unfortunately, before I ever got my hands on it. But like people are talking about. Someone brought up that Evil Dead the game came out today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so it's kind of funny because like after Freddy versus Jason came out, they talked about making a Freddy versus Jason versus Ash.
I want more. I was thinking like I want more crossover. Like I want to see all these bad guys like have a brawl, like a battle brawl or something, though, battle royale, and just see like I want to know who would come out on top.
Yeah. Well, and the thing was though is that like Bruce Campbell said he'd do it, but only if Ash wins in the end. And honestly, I 100% agree. I'm like, if Ash died by the end, I'd be pissed.
I'm not super familiar
okay with that.
With Ash and then that
the Evil Dead series.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen them, so I have.
So Sam Raimi. The Raimis,
who just directed. I won't have to talk about this. I do want to talk about this with you later on a Thursday night sometime about Doctor Strange, because he directed the newest film too.
Oh, he did? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I'll give opinions on that later. So yeah, research it because we're going to talk about maybe next week on Thursday.
Okay, all right. I'll somehow watch it, I guess. But
yeah.
The thing is though, is that the Raimis have a problem. Like it's what is his like Sam Raimi and Ivan Raimi, I think, are the one, and then there's another Raimi who is also involved but not on the directing side. He's usually an actor.
There's Ivan Raimi and Ted Raimi.
Yeah, no, Ted Raimi is the actor. Ivan and Sam are the people behind the camera. So like they're not great with actual horror. Their timing is terrible. They drag things out so long that it becomes funny, which is why. So the first Evil Dead movie is serious. It's a serious attempt at a horror film, and it's hilarious. The second movie is a little more campy on purpose. It's very funny.
Yes, I do remember it being
And then
campy.
Army of Darkness, they went full funny. And it's hilarious. It's so funny. And then recently they tried making a serious Evil Dead again, and I didn't watch it, but they also made Drag Me to Hell.
Oh, that was a fun film.
I was so uncomfortable watching that entire movie because he drags out some of those scenes, like the parking garage scene.
Yes.
So fucking long. And I was like, God, could this end, please?
I don't think I've seen that in like over a decade, but I.
And then the part at the funeral, I was like, really? Really? I mean, it is, that movie is, he's
Was that
trying to be,
where the goat thing happened? Was that?
the goat is not at the funeral, but the goat is in there, and that part's
Oh,
really
okay. I
ridiculous
can't remember the
too.
I
But the
have to
part at the
rewatch these.
funeral is sort of okay. So have you ever seen any of the scary movies?
Maybe the first one.
There's one of the later scary movies. There's a funeral, and it turns into this hilarious gag where someone thinks that the person in the coffin is still alive, and they start moving the body around, and it's like crazy and everything. So in Drag Me to Hell, there's a part where she goes to the gypsy woman's funeral, and it's almost like that, only they're serious. And in fact, the corpse like vomits too. It's just, it's gross, and it's so wrong, and it's taking itself so seriously. It's just cringy. It's just so cringy. And it's like, man, your timing is perfect for comedy and terrible for horror. Oh my God, absolutely horrible. And he needs to stop taking himself so seriously. And when they did the Ash versus the Evil Dead TV show, that was a lot better.
Oh, like, right, yeah.
Because again, it was more campy, and that's more fun. Like I honestly think he keeps trying to do horror like seriously, and it's like, dude, you don't know when to pull back. You have no tact.
You've got people in chat, I think, are disagreeing. Rib Rascal says Drag Me to Hell is a gem. JJ says Drag Me to Hell is amazing, loved it. And I can only, that's why I don't remember any detail from it, but I think I'm sure I would agree though too that there are certain scenes like, oh yeah, like this just took too long, but I do remember it being emotionally and just kind of like, okay, that was fun. like overall, but I have such low expectations of most horror movies, because usually I'm just kind of like, oh, I'm either going to make fun of it because it's going to, like, no matter how well done or not, like, because that's just like how I see them, or it's like well done enough that, yeah, like, again, I'm not scared by things, but I just think like, okay, like, yeah, like you guys did a good job here.
I think actually I'm going to spoil the end of Drag Me to Hell if you haven't seen it, but Jason, what's his name? The actor in that movie. I love that guy. He used to be
There's so many Jasons in Hollywood, so I don't even know.
I know.
Is it a Jason, or wait, you have Justin Long. Justin
Long. That's right. Okay. Justin Long. In that movie.
I do love him too.
He does not get enough really good parts, honestly, for how good of an actor he is. Because I just
watched him in, I'd never seen Accepted, right? That's when he starts college, yeah.
He at the end of, like, I was so bored and done with that movie because, like, for one thing, I knew it was coming, that the button and the coin got exchanged because they were both in a letter, in an envelope. So I was like just waiting. I was like, okay, come on, get to the point. Like, I hate it when I already know and the movie takes forever to get to that point. Like, it always drives me crazy. But that's more the fact that I'm not easily fooled. But so that part, I was like done. I was like, okay, could the movie end? And then it happens, and the camera is mostly on Justin Long's face, and his performance is so intense and so amazing that it like completely changed how I felt at the end of that movie. That I was like, wow.
Oh, I thought you made
he blew me away. And because
now I do need to rewatch this. He was in Tusk, right? Did you see that movie?
I don't think I've seen Tusk.
Because that one was part of like the Great White North series or something. But they essentially, it's about him being, I think it's Justin Long. I haven't seen that since it came out too. It's by Kevin Smith. And so it's a horror comedy, but he gets like kidnapped and slowly turned into a walrus. But not in like a sci-fi, like super or anything though. Like he has to be in the suit, and like he gets put in it, and he has to live like one, and it's just this like weird, and
that's weird.
So sad, because then he just like psychologically he just becomes one in the end. Spoiler alert. Like, and he just lives with the other walruses.
I think there are some like indie films, like horror films that are just so amazing that people don't really know about. Like I felt like Teeth is amazing.
Oh yeah, I think I watched that not too long ago.
Like that one was good to me. And I watched Hostel years ago, and it was actually kind of uncomfortable because I was at a party, but everyone was doing this game that I didn't want to play. So someone said, "Oh, I'll put on a movie for you," and I put on Hostel. And the first 45 minutes is all nudity, like all of it. And I was like, wow, this is uncomfortable at a party. And then, and like really bad fake boobs too. And then the rest of it is like really, really vicious violence and torture. And I was like, oh my God.
I've never seen Hostel.
Hostel's uncomfortable, honestly. That one I find uncomfortable. There's some of them, the body horror movies, that I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, okay, if I was going to pick a horror movie that really, really creeped me out, it'd probably be Wrong Turn, which I don't know. Maybe it's the idea of deformed hillbillies that really freaks me out.
I saw that.
Oh,
wait, which one? So 2003 and 2021.
Oh, the earlier one, 2003. Yeah. Someone asked, any Slither fans out there? JJ asked that.
What's Slither?
Love Slither. Slither is amazing. It's a James Gunn movie.
Oh, okay.
Starring Nathan Fillion. It's a sci-fi horror film.
Nathan Fillion. I'm definitely going to
zombie, like body horror apocalypse kind of film. It's so good. It's
perfect.
Fun. There's this amazing scene in it in the very like pretty early. Michael Rooker is in it, and he's so good. Oh. But there's a scene where it's essentially a rape, only it's like a weird sci-fi alien rape. And at the same time, there's like a hoedown, so it's cutting between the two, and it has this like, so it has this really amazing like creep factor to it that like wouldn't normally be there. Like James Gunn is very good, and there are a couple of other movies of his that not a lot of people really know that well. Like Slither's very good, Super is amazing, and that's his take on like mental illness and someone being a vigilante. It's really amazing.
Okay, I definitely want to watch, especially Nathan Fillion, because eventually, once I finish Castle, then I want to talk about him generally anyway. Teeth is, yes, I mean, I assume it's the same one that I've seen. That is, Boston Josh Teeth is the one where it has the girl's vagina has teeth, and stuff happens in that movie. So, and for some reason, she just keeps finding a bunch of people who really want to take advantage of her. So
I know. She finds like every rapist in the world.
Yeah, I know, and it makes me wonder, like, you know, to some extent, is it something about her that like she draws them in somehow, or is it the teeth itself that it's calling them all around? Some sort of radar.
I think it's kind of her, like, and honestly, I think she's seeking it out at a certain point. And I know that sounds sort of victim blamey or whatever, but we're talking about a fictional character, okay?
Right. in a horror movie, so like,
really, it's a horror movie. She literally does find like every rapist in the world essentially, and then she like. It's kind of funny. If you are a woman, don't watch that with the guy that you are hoping to maybe have sex with later.
Very.
He's not going to want to do it after watching that movie.
Yeah, you know, I would be weirded out, and I don't even have a penis that can be eaten off. Yeah. So that's what other? I'm trying to think of like other horrific. You like what?
Someone brought up The Thing. I like
The Thing. I've also have you seen The Stuff?
No.
We have it's like an 80s campy horror film. It's I don't even know what it was. It kind of seemed like the marshmallow, like the marshmallow fluff sort of thing. I forget what it was, but it was The Stuff. They called it The Stuff, and it just grew and was attacking
sort
people.
Of like a joke on the Blob.
I think so. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I would imagine, but we watched this stuff for a bad movie night. So
if it can't be attempting to be funny horror films, there's one that I watched a lot was Psycho Beach Party.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's kind of making fun of like the old sort of like beach party kind of films, and like some of the tropes of horror films. Like someone has like DID, and it's Lauren Ambrose, the woman from 6 Feet Under, and like there's a cop who's a woman, but it's clearly played by a man. And then they show her having sex at one point, but it's a woman's body. Like there's a body double. It's really disturbing, like on purpose. It's supposed to like be like, what the fuck? It's a really silly movie because it also it's trying to make fun of the beach party movies, like had musical numbers in them and stuff. So it's like really silly.
Okay.
It's more like the Reefer Madness musical, only with a lot of murder.
Reefer Madness, the musical. The horror musical.
I know Life Force. No Fun, No Hope mentioned Life Force. I've seen that one.
Life Force? I don't think I've seen that one. And I think Rip Rascal says that he thinks he walked out of Wrong Turn. Why is that? Boston Josh mentions Wolf Cop. I have no idea. I've never heard that one, but I think I can gather what the plot would be about. Although I guess I'm thinking Werewolf Cop, though. I'm actually hoping now that it's a literal wolf that is a cop.
With a little cop hat on.
Yeah. That would be amazing. Beaver is a funny horror movie, too. I don't, there's so many that I haven't seen. What a horror movie that I really genuinely think is well done is Shudder. And I think it's Taiwanese, some sort of Asian film. But I thought that one was a good spooky, because I think my favorite ones are like ghost horror movies. The Good and Bad Shudder is
I don't know
or Thai. Oh, it is Thai. It's Thai.
Is it? I'm not sure that I really like ghost horror films all that much. I don't know. I've never. I don't know, like why ghosts don't freak me out at all.
I don't like aliens. I think that's what, because like aliens don't that, like, but the ghosts, I think because those are the most fun for me, because I'm like, I don't believe in ghosts, but then they're just fun to see, like all of the paranormal stuff. So
I think Wrong Turn freaked me out because it was possible, like that there were these deformed monsters, human beings living in the forest murdering people. Like that sounds like something that could fucking happen.
That's what, and I think people sometimes they enjoy it, like, oh, here's the realistic thing. Like that's why it's scary, because like this is technically plausible. And
yes,
so like I get that aspect of it too, but then I also don't. Well, I guess we'll see how like science does things though. But it's usually like, oh, if you can usually kill something if you shoot it enough times or whatever, like it doesn't keep coming back. So it's like eventually you'll get there, and I've got enough guns that I'm not too concerned.
Yeah, like shooting them in the head, like when it comes to zombies, that's something you can do. JJ asked Rob Zombie movie fans. I have seen a House of a Thousand Corpses. I didn't enjoy it myself. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I think I've seen. I have to look up and see. I'm sure I've seen some of them, but I can't think of any ones that I can off the top of my head. Okay, well, we've talked a lot about different, which I'm fine with, like talking about horror generally, but we can do what we talked about beforehand too, talking about who would survive, who we believe might survive if they had to go up against Jason at Camp Crystal Lake here. And do you have and we're wanting to take like real life people today, and if they had to be put in the situation, if they went to camp together. So like, my first people I would think would be like Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, etc.
I actually, in that pair up, I think Nancy has a better chance of surviving than Joe Biden does.
Well, okay, I think we should do like a group, I don't know, 6 people. You think that's enough, that we list 6 people, and then we can describe like how we think this movie would play out? So who else would you want to include on there? And we can do like, we have the super woke people obviously, and then if we want to throw in some unwoke people. Who would want to do it? James Lindsay? I'll throw in. He's like the first person I think of.
Yeah.
So we'll do Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, James Lindsay, and then we have 3 other people.
Okay, 3 other people. Then for the other woke pit, let's do Kendi.
Kendi. Oh yeah. Okay. And I don't know if it should be 3 and 3 or like there's only going to be, there aren't always 1 or 2 survivors though too. So I know you kind of have an idea of like probably who's most likely to survive out of these types of people.
Well, first of all, let's take guns out of the scenario.
Yeah.
Because for the most part, like the thing is though is that like guns don't matter against Jason anyway.
Right. Yeah. Because again, it's one of those things like where you have to be a little bit supernatural because like in real life, probably could take him out pretty easily.
Yes, definitely. So I would say you said James Lindsay.
James Lindsay, Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Kendi,
Ben Shapiro.
Ben Shapiro. Okay. And then do we want 1 more woke person or 1 more unwoke person? Is it going to be 2 to 4?
Okay, honey.
And no fun, no hope says, what if you shot Jason with a tank shell? Did you ever try that? Well, I guess like what did you think that like if his body were blown to bits in any sort of way? I don't know if that happened in any of the films where it was like but it feels like he can just reconstruct no matter what. So like
it's slow for reconstruction though. I don't think
yeah, so it could take a
enough
while
to escape from him.
Yeah, oh yeah, just to get away, but you can't like get rid of him completely ever. I mean, that's what Jason X is in what was like 450 years later or something in the future when that takes place, right?
Yeah. I would say let's grab 1 more person.
Okay, yeah, which side do you want them to be on?
Let's grab Jordan Peterson.
It's gonna psychoanalyze. Well, you know what? I think as far as like trying to get into the psychology of Jason, maybe you can understand him enough to survive. I just was picturing him trying to like have a discussion with him though in the end. And
yeah. But why do you think you're doing this? Have you considered the Architecture yet?
Well, maybe if you yeah, so okay. The opening scene, well, is 6 friends are headed to or we'll say that maybe there's some sort of convention going on. Camp Crystal Lake has been closed for such a long time and it's being reopened now, not as a camp but as an event space next to a beautiful lake, and there's going to be a small convention being held that either was like maybe canceled last minute for most people, or it's either small and only some people were invited, or maybe like if it was canceled and 6 people just happened to not hear of the cancellation for whatever reason, or I don't know, take your pick on or maybe they're going to a different event space and they all happen to take a wrong turn somewhere, or there's a detour that they get sent over here. So however it is, these 6 people find their Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Kendi, Ben Shapiro, James Lindsay, and Jordan Peterson all lined up at Camp Crystal Lake.
Let's say it's storming, so maybe there's a washout, so they're kind of stuck.
Yeah, of course.
Just they would never stick around if they had to, like with each other.
Yeah, we're gonna say that these are the real people who know each other or know of each other in the ways that they do. So Biden knows none of them, clearly, because he has no recollection of anyone, including Pelosi. He might mistake Pelosi for his wife at some point.
Yes, I think it's Jill.
Because sometimes he thinks Jill is himself, right?
Yeah.
So then they're storming. They're stuck here. The electricity is flickering, and so they're inside in the main camp area where they're having to stay together, start a fire in the little fireplace. William Brown asks who's having sex with each other in this group.
I was thinking that too, because Jason kills people who have sex, do drugs, drink, generally party.
Oh, so we should have had Hunter Biden in here instead. Biden is going on a trip with his son. We can throw him in. We can have 7 people.
Yeah. But Hunter's alone.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but Hunter's the first to die.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely 100% the first to
die. Let's see. Stupid Newfie says Jason dwelling on the death of his mother and taking his rage out on the rest of the world. Yeah, Jordan Peterson would have a few things to say. Yeah. And so we were psychoanalyzing it at the beginning of the show too, about just because we were doing more as mom, but Jason himself, like, I guess if we let me get sidetracked for a second and get into him, because you're someone who, for whatever reason, you're believed to have died by drowning, but chose in a retcon to live in the woods until your adulthood, and then take revenge. Is it revenge? Like revenge on? There isn't anything. He's just killing everyone, though, including like most. And he's like somehow drawn to people having sex and doing drugs and all that because, you know, horror movie. But there isn't really. I mean, the mom died. Like, so I don't know. Is it revenge on the mom?
It's not revenge. See, that's the thing, is that like the fog does the same thing. In the fog, the pirates are coming to kill whoever's in this cove, essentially, or sound or whatever it is, because they were killed there. And it's like, but your ghosts and the people who killed you are gone. Like this, it's like, yeah, it's like okay,
you're just doing this for fun now.
Yeah, you're just enjoying yourself. Get over it. Like, and that's something Jordan Peterson would probably have.
Yeah.
You're not really enacting revenge against people who killed your mother because they're gone. So who are you?
What is it that you're trying to? Yeah. What is the purpose of your? So then I don't know if he'd have to, you know, you knock him out, because he can be knocked out, because that happened in Freddy versus Jason. He fell unconscious for a time and they tied him up or something. And so I would think that he would have to be restrained, and then you're on a couch and Jordan Peterson is trying to like help could do some therapy. But this wouldn't happen until after
that's like act 2 at least.
Yeah. So first to go would be Hunter Biden, and I think that he, you know, while you're stuck here during the storm, whatever, he's gonna get out whatever. What did it crack and stuff? Like whatever he does. Probably brought multiple laptops or something too. I don't know, like, but he's upset because the power is out, so he can't charge the computers either. And
maybe he goes outside for like a piss, by which I mean he's actually out there for a masturbation session.
And we did only take it. Okay, I'm gonna add another. I'm gonna retcon our own story here, though, and throw in an 8th person and bring in Jen Psaki, because she's young enough that, like, we only had Nancy Pelosi. She was the only woman, right? So we need to have at least a couple women.
Yeah.
So we'll bring in Jen Psaki here. So I think they're close enough in age to one another, so they would probably end up being paired up.
Yes,
that or Biden and Pelosi.
so the question is, who is the couple who, when they first go out to screw privately, gets killed by Jason? Because that's what happens. That like there's a couple screwing and they get killed.
Well, it's not always both, though, because in Freddy versus Jason, the first girl, she did survive for a while. She didn't die until more toward the end,
like the next day.
No,
she died the next night.
And the movie only took place in like within 24 hours or so, right?
It was like 2 nights. I think it was like about
from one
48
night to the other.
hours.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it started on the first night. You're already starting in the evening, and then you got to the following evening. So I don't even know if it was like how many between 24 and 48 hours, like however many you got. But for horror movie time and someone who had sex at the beginning of the film, like she lasted a while. So
And that was Catherine Isabel, who played Ginger from the Ginger Snaps movies.
Oh, okay.
Very interesting horror films, werewolf horror films. It took forever for them to do a movie called Ginger Snaps Back, though, and that kind of bothered me. But okay, anyway, you're right. She did survive at least one day.
Yeah, and again, it was, I don't remember at what point it was, but it was because it was in the cornfield, so it was at least in the second half of the film. I forget which number in the order she died.
I just watched it, so it goes.
I did too, and I already forgot everything.
Yeah, Trey's the first death. That's her boyfriend who dies in bed while she's in the shower.
Right.
Second death is Trey's best friend Blake.
Right, and his dad. Which I was like, the dad didn't do. I mean, like, he seemed sort of like a jerk, but it was also understandable because he's like, you left your little sister at home, and he's like,
and
Dad,
I'm drinking. Yeah, your friend.
My best friend just died. I'm mourning. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
And then she dies.
Okay, so she dies right after that. And then the cop in that film, I always liked him. He, because he was in Charmed. He played the love interest for Phoebe in Charmed for a bit. So I'd seen him in different things. And he played the dad in Riverdale, who ended up being the serial killer in one of the one they found out at the end, like, oh, it was her dad the whole time.
I like that actor too.
I don't know his name.
I don't remember his name either, but he's recognizable. He's in so many things.
Yeah. He was so young then. Okay.
Oh my God, that comment by stupid Newfie. You just pulled out.
Yeah. Psaki almost escapes for a while, but eventually circles back.
Yeah. Maybe she's the one who makes it almost to the end, and then the jump scare at the end, she dies.
Oh, yeah. So she's like almost the final girl. Oh, I should have. If we're only going to do one of these, I'm going to keep adding people though, because if we're only going to do one time, like we'll play this out completely. So if it is a convention, we're going to have multiple people. Maybe we can get up to like 10 or something.
We need another woman.
I'm going to throw
Owens. No, Candace Owens. Yeah, that's
Candace Owens is the right one. So then we'll do both, because I'm going to do her, and I'm also going to throw in AOC.
AOC, yes. She's the other big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
Now we got more women.
AOC. And we have more diversity in women, diversity in Black people. We got Ibram X. Kendi and Candace Owens, so we're doing well. Yeah. And we have a Jewish person.
Yes. Ben Shapiro. 2 Catholics, though.
2 Catholics. Oh, okay.
I guess technically Hunter Biden's Catholic too. I don't know. I don't think he.
Yes. Does he count?
Does he count? I don't know.
Okay, so we have I would say that yes, Psaki does escape. She and Hunter go off and do whatever they're gonna do, and then and this is all fictional. I'm not saying that any of this stuff is real or something that people would actually do. However, if they were in this situation, I believe it would play out this way.
Yes.
So they go out to the woods. Yeah, somewhere in the woods, probably behind a fallen log. And then and Jason comes out of nowhere with his, what does he hold, a machete or something?
He's got a machete.
Machete?
Yeah.
Okay. I never know what types of sword things that people wield. So he comes out with a machete, and so somehow Psaki, she gets away. She notices in time. I don't know what's something that she would notice about this. I like the circling back. She escapes. She escapes enough and runs, but as she's in the woods, she's lost in the woods, so she doesn't know where she's going, and gets confused, and she ends up just somehow backtracking. She makes it around to the other side and just kind of bumps back into Jason as he was like, oh, it's coming to find you anyway. I guess
She circled
back around. Okay, let me see what No Fun, No Hope here says. Jason is about to murder AOC. She says, you just want to murder me because you can't date me. Jason pauses to explain why that's not accurate as she runs away.
Jason would literally open his mouth for the first time ever to say, I don't want to date you.
Yeah. ever spoken anything before, but he can't let this one go. Like, he has to address it. And then she, this convention or something just happens to have like a lot of horses around too, so she is able to go into this horse pen and is able to hide among them. Because I am one of the people who does call her horse face. I don't care who says that she's attractive.
She's not.
But yeah, so I think she gets a reprieve for a while.
Okay.
Who else do we have? We've got Pelosi, Biden. I wonder, he would be like, I feel like he'd be giving like an election speech, running as vice president, and speaking to like the bear head and the deer heads on the walls.
He's just like gesturing at no one.
Yeah, talking to them, giving his spiel about how he wants to become vice president for Obama.
And America means he
even says the word triskaidekaphobia because it is the fear of the number 13, and it's number 13. And he's able to just somehow mumble that out coherently. JJ says, I want to see a movie where the squad go full Bolshevik and just start torturing and murdering the rest of Congress. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah. Oh, okay. That's another horror movie idea that we can go. So, but we need to finish. How are these people going to die? I feel like we've got some good characters here. It's like at the end, like Jason just win in the end. But we've got Shapiro. We still have Kendi, Pelosi, Biden, Candace Owens.
Lindsay. I gotta say, there's gotta be a scene where Lindsay is like has his own machete and is like dancing around.
He's got a lightsaber, maybe.
Yeah. And he's
sword.
Like,
no, he's got the swords, right? He's had Twitter.
Yeah, he's got this big sword.
Katana.
He's like
seems like a katana guy. Yeah, I feel like he'd get a couple good shots in at Jason here. Like he'd slice him up enough, at least to like stall him for a while. Like maybe you're supposed to swing with whatever weapon, but like maybe he's able to just like pierce him into a wall or something. So he's got him going for a bit, and as they're able to get away,
yeah, they run.
And they run. And who would be who's the lead here? I guess out of all these people. I feel like Candace Owens would be.
That's where my brain was going.
Yeah,
Candace Owens.
Because she just seems like the most take charge. Like, because even Shapiro, I think he'd be chat. He's the friend who talks a lot though, and has like all the information. He probably just knows the story of Jason.
Talks his way through the movie.
And but I'm sorry to say, like, but that kind of character just doesn't make it in the end though either. Though, like,
I think he would.
He's
die.
Smart, but yeah. Like, no offense to him. It's nothing personal, but I'm trying to be unbiased here.
Yeah, I think he'd freeze up the first time he saw Jason. I think.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe he'd get saved enough. Like maybe he'd get nicked, and then I feel like Candace would be the one to like somehow like pull him away and stuff. Yeah, I definitely think she's the final girl material here.
Yes, definitely.
AOC. AOC would hide under a desk, right? So she would panic and cry, but she was in a different cabin the whole time when it happened. So, but think that like he was trying to murder me.
She'd actually be right this time.
Yeah, for once. Ibram X. Kendi. I don't know enough about him personality-wise. I don't know what he would do.
I think he would try to take charge of the situation, but make really bad.
Yes. Yeah, decisions. He's the wannabe leader who no one, even those who kind of agree with him, they know that like you, like we don't want you to be talking though. Like but he's like, gonna keep trying.
They're an Ibram, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we've got Hunter dies first. I don't know who the next in line would be. If we do Kendi, that might make us racist. Well, he's not the first to die, so we're not too racist.
No.
But killing him at all would probably constitute as being racist. However, I just don't see him surviving in the end.
I don't either.
And we already did Shapiro, which maybe that's also bigoted of us too, because he's Jewish. So it's gonna be hard to win this.
The thing is, though, is that like I think Lindsay dies a hero. I don't think he actually survives, but I think he dies a hero, saving people.
I think I agree with that. I think okay. But then how do we play this out? Jason continues to kill, so he gets he gets Hunter first.
Yeah.
Biden, I think Biden would be one of the first two, because again, he's just not really with it, and he's like busy talking. He probably would think that Jason is like, Jill or something, though, and so he's just so
maybe he puts his hand out like, oh, you want to shake hands?
Yeah.
And there's that moment where like Jason just stares at his hand like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And then
does he chop off? Does he kill him completely, or does he chop off the arm does he do multiple hits? I don't know if like he would do a quick thing and then, or if he just goes for like.
I think he would. I think like
he just slash down.
There might be a pause where he doesn't do anything, and then like maybe he like looks like maybe he is gonna shake his hand, but then.
Oh yeah. I love that. I love where there's the pause of confusion of like, now we're both confused. Now and then.
Never mind.
I like Jason having weird issues addressing each of them, though, too, where it's just like Jordan Peterson's gonna like Ben Shapiro would also talk his way out like very quickly, and I think that would also like stall him for a moment, though, and but I think that would give him time to escape for a bit until later in the film.
You know what? Maybe Shapiro dies because Jason likes to do this where he stabs people through things.
Yeah.
With that machete, like you think you're safe, and then he stabs someone through it. Like he does that a lot.
Actually, addressing the Freddy versus Jason thing of the friend group, that girl does die, but she actually died by being stabbed with someone else stabbing because she was getting taken advantage of that guy.
She was being raped.
Yeah. Like, and then she's being attacked while she's asleep, being raped while she's awake, and then Jason stabs and kills her in real life and in the dream. And like, yeah, poor girl. But then, and that was after the two rando guys in the party too that were drinking the Everclear or something. Like they get killed though. So there were a couple other deaths.
No. That comes after her.
Was it after? Oh, I thought that was before.
That was after.
Oh, because he catches on fire. You're right.
And then he attacks the party, and the party breaks up.
Yeah.
So that happens after.
Yeah. Not bad. Okay. So he stabs. Or you're saying that he stabs people through. So Shapiro would die getting impaled. Yeah. And then
so like he's probably like he's doing his comic relief fast talk moment as they think they're safe, and then he just stabs through the wall.
Yeah, okay, that's right. He's, instead of talking to Jade, like they just think that like, oh yeah, he's making the jokes, he's here, that we found a safe spot, but then like we're also all gonna die, but I'm trying to make light of the situation.
And it's a bit Joss Whedon-y, but it works.
Yeah, no, I like Whedon, so what is this? I'm trying to read JJ's. If these Congress people really wanted to make money and gain popularity, they should box each other, I think, like all these YouTubers have been doing.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so like they have to at some point, I think maybe that's how James Lindsay dies, is that they're trying to knock Jason out so that they could tie him up and stuff.
Is their plan, like the scheme that they come up with, is Jordan Peterson will be able to talk him and
out of it,
figure that like, yeah, okay. I like that. That's like their plan A is like, well, he can't be stopped from whether they've heard or seen the movies themselves, that they know. So they're like, okay, there's so few ways to actually stop him, so they have Peterson in their arsenal, so they'll use him.
Yeah. And so like that's how Lindsay buys it, is that he's fighting him so that they can knock him out, and it works, but he dies. Like, so that's how he dies a hero.
Yeah. Oh, sacrifice to get him tied up. Okay. Well, I thank you for your sacrifice, James Lindsay. Stupid Newfie also said, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but you could have a touching moment where Joe discovers Hunter, has a moment of clarity, breaks down over his boy, but almost immediately forgets what's going on.
I felt like that was too real. I was like, oh God.
Yeah, that is too real. I don't. Yeah. Well, let's leave that out. Leave it on the cutting room floor. It is good writing, I think, but it's too real.
Too real.
Okay.
For this movie.
So we've got AOC cowering under some sort of desk in a different cabin. We have Pelosi. She's still around. Abraham X. Kendi. Peterson. Okay, I think these things would happen before you tie up Jason.
Yeah.
I don't know in order. Okay, I think Pelosi and then Kendi. Oh, my goose is getting louder.
I just hear it.
Yeah.
What's it mad about?
I think my boyfriend was putting the cover off of something on the house though, because it had fallen off though, and so I think Lemon Grab gets upset when stuff is moving. So he's yelling. See, just like Missy, everyone's loud here.
I know.
Okay, so I would say, I don't know. I'm really. You describe to me what's happening with Kendi.
Okay. So Kendi is. I say Kendi does this thing where he's all like trying to get everyone to do his plan, which his plan is stupid. I can't think of what he would say though. We're having a hard time thinking.
Yeah, I know, because you're not stupid enough to come up with a dumb plan.
Yeah.
He would say that Jason is really racist, that it's, he's got his that's white supremacy going on, and that he's using his even though no one black has died yet of this moment, though, like something like he's targeting because there are 2 black people here at this storm. What else? Something about his book. Maybe he just. I keep picturing him wanting to. He just has a bunch of copies of his book, so he's all. And I feel like that might save him at one point too. Like from getting stabbed, he holds up his book as protects him for a moment, and he runs off.
Yeah, I feel like he would run away from the rest of the group. That he would be
he acts super brave. Like he acts like he's going to be the hero, and he's super brave, but then he chickens out, like right when it happens, and so then he goes off on his own, and then so he gets found by Jason later on as he's yes. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. JJ says AOC should definitely be the slut character first to do full frontal. No, we already said that it's going to be Hunter.
Hunter died first. Oh gosh.
So we got Kendi. He's off in the woods alone. He finds, maybe he's like second or something. Well, there's only the one bad guy. If Jason's maybe they get scared. Maybe Jason doesn't even make it inside. This is something they've barricaded the cabin that they're in to prevent Jason from getting. But he's trying to break in, and Kendi runs out the backside. Like he opens it up and runs and flees. He comes across Hunter's corpse in the woods, and Psaki's, because again she died around that time too, because she circled back, right?
Yes, she circled back.
And then so he's off on his own in the. Finds a shed.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. No fun, no hope.
Let me see what it says. Blocking with his book, throwing endless copies of his book at Jason's head, collapsing, towering stacks of his book in front of Jason to block his way. Yes. Yeah. And he brought it, like he had, this is only like a couple of days worth of a convention though, but he brought multiple suitcases of his books along.
He brought one set of clothes.
Yeah.
And all
one outfit.
And 2 sets of two suitcases.
Probably books. Hair products or something. He's got like long hair, right? Or something.
Yeah, he does.
Okay, so something to help with hair. I don't know. Okay, so yes, he's got all these books, so he's knocking them down, and then it's able to again momentarily distract Jason, and then he flees. But then they were using his books. Maybe that's what it is. He didn't even want to, because they're like, "We'll use your books to help barricade us inside the cabin." These are really great condition. Like, they're great read. Have you even read them yet? We want to I don't want these to get destroyed though. Like, he's got that machete and it's bloody, and you're gonna mess up all of my books.
I still have to sell these.
Yeah. So he reluctantly allows it, and then and he still acts all tough, but then eventually flees. And so then he's somehow off alone somewhere. I don't know the exact moment of his death, but he definitely dies. When he says something about it being racist. And right, and I think his head probably gets shot. I think it's one of the clean beheadings.
Yeah. I have a feeling like he basically he's hiding in the woods, and Jason finds him, and as Jason comes towards him slowly, he allows his stupidity to take over instead of cowardice. At that point, he stands up and he points at Jason, and he's like, "You're just doing this because you're racist.
Yeah,
you're a bigot."
These are all the things that are wrong with white people these days and in America. And we have it's the what's it called? She's really upset.
I know. I'm gonna put her in the crate. Give me a moment.
Okay. And then let me think of what's the word that I'm looking for. Starts with an S. Now I'm just picturing that her cat is getting murdered here. I think Jason's coming inside and slaughtering Missy here. I see that Kent was talking about Trudeau doing an actual charity boxing match. Oh, okay, I haven't seen that. Slow motion of him getting punched. All right, that sounds entertaining. How is Missy doing?
I don't know what. Sometimes she's like, I cannot be satisfied. I don't know what she wanted.
I can't think of the phrase though, but whatever it is of the systemic. That's it. Systemic racism. We've got all this problem in the country, and Jason is the root. Like, this is exactly what the problem is, and then
he gives one of those speeches,
and then the audience is just like, just end it already, and then Jason does, making the audience happy.
I think he would be like mid-sentence.
Yeah. And let me tell you another thing here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got rid of Kendi. Let me see. Kendi Shapiro has died. Oh, Shapiro died later. Like, he was still in it because he was like the best friend, comic relief character. So I think he survived for a while. He does eventually go. We haven't gotten rid of Pelosi yet. We did get rid of Biden. Hunter. We did describe how James Lindsay. We didn't give like a full scene for Lindsay, I don't think. So Shapiro got that. How about, so we've got Pelosi, AOC, Candace, James Lindsay, Jordan Peterson. Who's the next? I think Kendi and then Shapiro.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, no. Pelosi. I feel like Pelosi. Is she someone who lasts because she's like the annoying person? Like, how are you still alive even after Shapiro? Like, so she just, or is that AOC? No, I feel it's AOC. So I think Pelosi, Shapiro.
Okay. I think Pelosi basically says that they're crazy to wait it out, like that they don't have a plan or anything, so she's just gonna leave.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then it's like, why don't we just drive out? But like this, because she drives out, but like whatever, it's washed out because of the storm.
Yeah.
And so maybe she doesn't even get killed by Jason. She just has a car accident or something though too, and like just gets stuck in the sludge. Or maybe like she's stuck enough that Jason does just appear there or something. However, when it played out, but I feel like she gets stuck in like the ditch somewhere because the weather is so bad, and she tries to escape, and everyone's like, no, that seems like a worse idea. For some, I don't know. I feel like in real life, I think I would try to drive away. I think that is the more logical choice. B. Allen's asking, where's Kyle Rittenhouse? We have established though that like we took guns out of the picture because it doesn't affect Jason. Like he's supernatural by this point. And he regenerates. Who's at least his family is looked after thanks to his life insurance policy from Policy Genius. Who?
He who.
I'm stupid, Newfie. I'm not sure who.
The person we're referring to.
There are too many men. That's why we had to add more women here because
exactly.
we two girls on this stream. I never even think about women generally.
There's usually a lot of women in these movies. Anyway.
Yeah, because you need to have the full frontal scenes and all that.
Especially that first one. Shapiro.
Shapiro. Okay.
Yeah.
His family thanks to his life. Yes. Okay. Yes. I wasn't familiar with Policy Genius. At first, I thought he was. Oh,
is that one of the ads he does?
Probably.
Like on his show.
Yeah.
He's really good at that too, about just suddenly moving into an
really?
ad.
Okay.
Yeah, like if you it's kind of funny if you watch the Bill Maher Sunday Show one with him. At one point, Bill Maher is like, "My God, you're good at that." He like they could be talking about anything, and he can move somehow into talking about the sponsored ad. It's impressive.
Wow. Yeah, he'd be a great. I mean, I guess you're a salesman to some extent, like when you're trying to pitch whatever ideas and stuff that you're trying to share. Okay, so let me recap real quick. Hunter goes first, then Biden, or I guess Biden doesn't have to be second, because you're just like, oh, you're the old man that doesn't know what's going on, so you go. But out of everyone else, no, I think it has to be him.
Yeah,
and then we were saying so Hunter and Biden, Joe Biden, and then Kendi. And because at this point in their block, they think the books and stuff are going to help.
Was it Hunter and then Psaki and then Biden? And then,
right. Yeah, I didn't have
Hunter,
Psaki on here.
Biden, Kendi.
Yeah. Okay.
AOC's still hiding under her desk.
She's. Kendi. Okay, and then so we've got. So then out of Shapiro, Nancy, AOC, Candace, James, Lindsay, Jordan Peterson. I have to say their full names. I don't know why, but like their full names are just like one name. Kendi, I don't know who would. I guess Shapiro would probably be fifth. Then Hunter, Psaki, Biden, Kendi, Shapiro.
Yeah.
You got. So far, we've had all the people that no one likes. I didn't realize that. Yeah, that was. Yeah. So she's still, but then you've got the So okay, yeah, I think Shapiro definitely has to go because we need some of the people that like. Oh yeah, you're actually you're the likable comedic character.
That's when you know stuff gets real, and now people you like.
Yeah, right. So we're getting into definitely in the second half. I don't know if this is the third act yet. No, it's getting too far. So you're at least in the second act. Yeah. Okay, so things are getting real. So we've got so Shapiro dies when they think they're safe and they've escaped. Once again, they already figure that Kendi's gone because he ran off. I'm like, well, it's I guess, and then Pelosi hasn't.
Actually, you know what? I think what she does, not that she says to them that they're stupid and that she's leaving.
She just tries to secretly get away.
She secretly gets in the car to leave.
Because shifty.
At Kensington and tries to get out of there by herself.
Yeah. And because then she thinks, well, like one of us is going to survive, and it's going to be me. Because my boyfriend, when we were kind of talking about this beforehand, mentioned her like how she ends the twist in the film should be that she actually ends up being the bad guy in the end though too, because she just like absorbs everyone's youth, and so that's how she's still able to be alive for so long. That's
pretty funny.
which so maybe, or at the end, like, oh, that's it. So she does, like, I think she dies, like, or you don't even know her, like, she has the car crash and we actually don't know, so she's left, it's unknown her status. Jason doesn't get to her, so we'll just leave her open-ended for now.
We don't see it.
because
We don't know if she died in the crash. We don't know.
We don't know what's going on, so we'll leave her. But we'll say that at some point it happened around like the Shapiro Kendi time around there, so we'll put her on. And so then that leaves AOC, Candace, James, and Jordan. So then they're like, all right, we're gonna divide. Like AOC somehow comes back and everyone groans. They're like, oh, you're still here.
Still alive. Oh, God.
Great. Oh, wonderful. Cool. And then they're like, well, killing him isn't going to actually work because like he doesn't die. And the best thing we can do, like maybe Jordan kind of talks about like the psychology of him, like understanding that like, oh, I know a bit of his history, so maybe we can try and convince him. It seems like a long shot, but if anyone can pull this off, it would be Peterson.
Yes, exactly. And that's where they try to like fight him to subdue him, and that's when Lindsay will die.
Yeah, he gets out his he probably just brings it with him everywhere he goes.
He's like, well, I have this, and he pulls it out,
and it has the metallic sound that for no reason it makes the shing sound,
even though it was in a leather sheath.
Oh yeah, very so quiet. Maybe in our film we have it's just silence.
Yeah. And like Peterson says, well, maybe that'll do.
So they fight for a while. Like he's able to get in a couple of swings and stuff, but ultimately, poor James does. He sacrifices himself to let, I guess, AOC and Candace work together. They team up to tie him up, and they like strap him in on, I don't know, like a gurney or something that just happens to be there from all the multiple problems that there have been at this camp beforehand and whatever other things, the emergency stuff, programs that they've held here since it closed. So just happens to have these things. And so they're excited that they did it, but James sadly falls during this commotion.
He doesn't die fast. It's not a fast death.
Oh yeah, he gets to have like he gets to talk to them and say, you know, like you can go. I don't know what he would say. Something about 2 + 2 = 4.
And he has to make a your mom joke.
He makes it your mom. And which is so appropriate because it does have to do with Jason's mom.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. You know who like the best killer of them all is? Your mom.
Yeah.
Or the worst one. I don't know which is more. So like if he's trying to make fun of Jason and saying that like someone who will always be better than him and saying that your mom's better, or making fun of the mom and saying that she's the worst one. That
it's like I haven't been fucked like that since your mom.
Yeah. Yes. And then so he gets that moment. Love it. And then only 3 remain. We have AOC, Candace, and Peterson.
Don't know what happened to Pelosi.
And we don't know what happened to Pelosi. William Brown also says, then in a Scooby-Doo moment, Jason mask is ripped off and it's Kamala Harris. I didn't even think about her. I should have had her in there too. That's too many black people. I don't think a horror movie can handle 3 black people.
Yeah, really. Might destroy the movie. It might implode.
But she'd just be smiling the whole time when Jason's there, like,
cackling.
Yeah.
And then try to explain something really specific. You are a serial killer. You kill people. You use your machete and you stab them, and they die.
She just keeps, anytime that they're making plans or time it looks, I'm like, why are you laughing right now? Now is not the time. And even Shapiro's like, yeah, I'm saying all the jokes, and even I don't think we should be laughing right now.
I swear she has like some sort of neurological condition where she laughs at the most inappropriate moments.
Right? Yeah. Like now is the time. Okay. So then,
and they're like, she doesn't laugh at the jokes.
Yeah. Just can't. And then like a couple minutes later, she laughs and like, oh yeah, like now I get it. Okay, so between AOC, Candace, and Peterson. So Peterson, they have him strapped down. Peterson is trying to talk, and I guess I kind of am picturing it sort of like an exorcism or something though too. They're like holding him down, like hurry, you need to talk to him. So he's like psychoanalyzing.
He's struggling.
Yeah. But then he escapes and then grabs. I don't even know how.
I think he kills Peterson at that point.
You think Peterson? So it'll be AOC's. The AOC and Candace are the last ones. Okay, yeah. I would say that maybe AOC and Candace they go off somewhere else. That like they're saying that they at some point they're telling him to hurry, but they think that like maybe they have another way of either getting out or killing him. Or something that can stop him if this doesn't work. And then so they whatever it is. So Peterson tries it, but then he thinks he's making a breakthrough. Jason seems to be calming down. He looks like he's not. And then Peterson, I'm going to unstrap you. I'm going to. God. And this is we can figure this out together. And then that's when Jason just takes the machete or James Lindsay's sword and uses it on him instead.
So like Peterson's not a fighter. Like I know I'm like I just don't picture him lasting very long if it gets past talking.
No. It's going to be pretty quick.
Yeah.
Pretty instant. Okay. And then finally we have AOC and Candace, and I don't even know how to finish this film. Everyone's annoyed that AOC is still, the audience is annoyed because she's still talking and yammering on about whatever things going on in her life and how it's affecting her and how she didn't know what a garbage disposal was and how, I don't know, something about bartending.
I think she tries to essentially sacrifice Candace to save herself, but it backfires. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen.
Yes, that is perfect. Okay, yeah, she tries to get Candace, but Candace is very what's the word? Not thrifty, but resourceful. Unable to like save herself, so she gets out of the way when AOC is like turning on her and trying to be on Jason's side instead, and like agreeing. And Jason, for some reason, just doesn't kill her and kind of lets her tag along for a little second. Yeah. And then I'm just like, there's Candace. Like I can point you where Candace is. She's the one you really want, right? And then and then so she turns on Candace, but then Jason just like, I'm gonna kill both of you. So then he kills AOC and Candace.
That's the point where she's actually that's how he doesn't kill AOC at first when like it backfired on her, is that she does, you just want to kill me because you want to date me.
Yeah, you want to murder me.
And he's like mid swing and like. No. And like maybe he shakes his head.
Yeah. And then he pauses because he's wondering, like, if I kill her, does it actually mean that I want to date her? I really don't want that to be a thing.
Yeah, like I don't want that to be what she thinks.
For it. And then so it gives him pause because it's like, I don't want people thinking that either. But ultimately he still kills her anyway. And then last is Candace, and I don't know how she escapes, but she does. I think she stops he doesn't like water, so somehow like she's able to like get him, like pull him in, like maybe something there by the lake, able to tie him into like some sort of anchor or something heavy, and able to like just pull him down, and you see like bubbles as he's drowning, and he's that's where he did it. So, and it seems
maybe she gets a chain around his leg or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, maybe she's almost drowning. So like they're fighting in the water though, because like he's trying to get her and she's drowning, but she's able to tie him up, and then and he gets pulled under. Like she cuts something loose that like sinks underneath into the water, and he pulls him down, and she's able to climb up, and she is breathing heavily on the dock, thinking that she's made it. And then the jump scare happens where Nancy Pelosi is behind her, and either with a machete or glowing eye. Like we changed genres, and now it's supernatural because more supernatural because Pelosi is some sort of like a never-aging demon woman.
And
No, John Delarose, AOC is not hot. We've established this earlier.
I thought it was the funniest thing ever when someone said, "How dare you put googly eyes on this picture of AOC?" And it's like, I didn't. Those are her eyes.
Yeah, she's got the bug eye thing going on. Yeah. My gosh. Principled Uncertainty says, would it be funnier if every one of Jason's kills was a hate crime? Well, that's what, like we were kind of taught, like that's, Kendi was talking about it being all racist. And, but I guess he only kills, he kills a black guy. He kills a Jewish man. He
kills some women.
Kills women. Yeah. If we count a ginger as a minority or not, I don't know if they count now. Old people. I mean, it's hate crimes against the elderly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess everything's a hate crime.
Hunter and Lindsay. Although Lindsay died a hero, so it's not exactly like
right. Oh yeah, the straight white man dies a hero. Of course he does.
Yes.
He still dies, but he's like, yeah, but he was a hero. Yeah, but he's dead. Yeah, but like everyone, like, but he's a good guy. Like he's clearly not a bad guy. Yeah. So okay, I like this film. This is all fictional. I'm not wishing anything bad to happen to any of these people.
Never.
But these fictionalized characters, because we even killed off people, and I'm like, no, I think you're great people.
Yeah,
but sadly, I just don't think you would survive in this. Johnny Boy Quick Draw says Pelosi could be the killer, and when they try to unmask her at the end, the real shocker is that she isn't wearing a mask. Yeah. Like, oh. Well, I did have these other things about like Friday the 13th superstitions and all that, but we've talked so much about movies, which I mean, there's a lot of horror stuff to talk about. So I think we can wrap up here now that we went through it. I really like doing this movie pitch of do our Netflix pitch. I wonder if they would
Netflix do our political parody film.
Yeah. Just make our own. Well, maybe Ben Shapiro stuff, because they're making their own films on the Daily Wire. I always have.
They were asking what their next genre of film should be. This is the next movie you should make.
Friday the 13th. Okay, all right, we've got this. Let's someone who has some contacts there reach out. It's very unlucky to cover Friday the 13th, the movie or the show. I would say that generally, it used to be Friday the 13th used to just be kind of lucky days for me. I would say, like, I don't know why, but it would be like good things would be happening, but now it's just been kind of like nothing. So it's like, well, it's any other day. But sometimes it would have been like, I can't remember anything specific, but it might be like, oh, I found $5 or something on the sidewalk or whatever, that type of thing where I'm like, oh, this is a good day.
I've never I've hardly noticed them, like, honestly, unless other people started talking about it. And I remember once, I think it was in elementary school, one of the kids said, what if it was Friday the 13th in October, and someone said, what if Friday the 13th occurred on Halloween too? And I'm like, I know we were kids, but at the same time, even for us, it's in 6th grade. I'm sort of like, really?
On February 28th, or 29th, sorry, February 29th, the leap year. But Principled Uncertainty, we are going to go as well, so it's good timing.
Yes, we're wrapping up.
Yeah, no fun, no hope. I'm glad you like general horror stuff, because I like it too. And then that's what Thursday nights, Alex is going to be joining me generally now for Token Minority Report, and just going to be trying to talk more arts and entertainment, sort of pop culture stuff. Probably more horror things, because it sounds like we both like horror stuff.
I like everything. Like, honestly, like I don't have a favorite genre of anything on. So
Oh
we
yeah,
could talk
no,
about
that's what I was saying. I know, that's why I like you, because you just like know a little, at least a little bit, if not a lot, about like everything. Where it's just like, here's this other random topic. You're like, oh, well, I know this information about it. Like, why?
How do I know
It's
this?
amazing. I'm so glad. Well, even like I said, eventually I want to talk about Nathan Fillion and the other day, and you're like, well, here's some other facts about it. I'm like, I didn't know that. Like, let's not talk now because I want to save it for
yeah, I do.
So, but yeah, so I love it. But yeah, so we'll delve in. It makes me need to. Well, so you do anime at all?
Yeah, some.
Okay.
But like you said, a little bit of everything.
Right,
So
right.
it's not like I'm like an expert on every one of these topics.
But you can
I just like everything.
Yeah, but then you're good about like we can at least like relate, because there's stuff like, oh, I haven't seen this, but it reminds me of this thing here, so we can like relate.
Yeah.
Pumpkinhead, I think I have.
Pumpkinhead is good. Watch Pumpkinhead.
And Pelosi would be revealed like the mom and Psycho sitting in a chair in a cabin. It's a stupid newfie. Yeah.
Well, she'd probably still
just
be
a
alive.
Skeleton. yeah. It looks like it's gone, but she is still alive.
But she's still alive.
She's like mummified. But okay, yeah. So that's what Thursdays will end up being more of, as we try to figure out how things go. Still try and keep some games in and try and get chat more involved is what my goals are. Is just to be some silly chatting streams to help get like be more interactive.
Personable.
Yeah, personable. I'm really unlikable though, so I don't really know how we can. This is tough for me.
We'll figure it out. Don't worry.
But thank you all for watching this terrifying Friday the 13th stream. And let me find the end credits. And have a great night and rest of your week, or the beginning of your weekend, I guess, and have a good weekend.
It's Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday. Bye.
Thanks for sticking around until the end. If you're new to Unsafe Space, check out our deep content library that includes discussions with everyone from James Lindsay to Brett Weinstein. And please consider helping to fund our work by visiting unsafespace.com/donate. You can find us on a variety of social media platforms, and you can find a community of like-minded individuals on our Unsafe Space Discord server, which is open to financial supporters at any level. We hope to see you there.
Warning. This is an unsafe space. Dangerous ideas have been detected. The content of this production may be upsetting to Brian Stelter. Please do not expose him to it. For completely legitimate reasons, Taylor Lawrence is requesting any information you may have about the following individuals. The Twitter subroutine appears to be malfunctioning. Pay no attention to it. Did you know that the word liberty is a dog whistle for insurrectionists? If you think about it, no one should be allowed to express opinions. But don't. Think about it, I mean. That's not your job. Thinking has been scientifically proven to be less efficient than compliance. Science, scientific, and scientifically are registered trademarks of the World Economic Forum. Unauthorized use is prohibited. Computer voice courtesy. Never mind, that last line is fake news. Please disregard it and return to your safe space immediately. There will be cake.